What's going on, everybody? This is Logan Pachesney. Alongside with me is Justin from Hope College. Why is it not letting me? Oh, of course. And we also have special guest with us today, and Finn Hogan from CMU. So once I'm able to get these guys in here, we will get the ball rolling. Hopefully everybody's day is going good. Of course it's going to be dumb. Wow. Alright. Okay,
What?
sweet. Alright, guys, what's going on?
Not much.
How's it going, Logan? Ben?
Good.
Apparently I can't. Wow. Anyways, back to where we were at. Coming up on the holidays. Anybody got anything special going on for the holidays?
Just coming up north to visit your ugly face.
Well, I don't know how much you'll be seeing my ugly face for, but okay.
We'll be sitting in this dorm room, playing football.
There you go. Well, like Justin was explaining to you, we do a week-to-week recap on our daily lives because some of our lives are busy. Obviously, Finn, yours is definitely busy being a collegiate athlete. So, we'll start off with Justin so you get a feel of how it is. So, Justin, it's been about a week since our last show. So, how's life going on with you?
It's been pretty good. Closing up a couple of closing some deals on some of the football stuff that I got to get going on. It's that time of year where I got to start inventorying helmets and packaging the helmets so we can get them out sent for recon and get them all painted and ready for next season. So I've been in contact with a couple different companies of who can give us the best price and all that kind of fun stuff. Other than that, hasn't really been too busy. College basketball is taking a break for the holiday. They're still practicing, but they won't have any home games for a little bit until the new year. And so women's basketball is going to end tonight as they are playing a JV game, and then they'll head home for the holidays, and then no one will be back until January 1.
So pretty much campus for you, except for the ones that are from far, is going to be quiet.
Yeah, campus has been very quiet. The students have all been gone for a week, since last week Friday, and the dorm rooms, you can hear a pin drop. They are so quiet, there's no one in them, so it's time to deep clean the dorm rooms and get them ready for when students come back.
Right. All right, Finn. So obviously you got a little sneak peek of how that is. So week-to-week recap. Obviously it's longer than a week since today is your first day with us. You're from Central Michigan University. You play football. You're a wide receiver. How's that going for you? Since if I remember it, you're a freshman. So what's the difference between high school sports and college sports for you?
I think for me the biggest difference is like we've been doing that. I've been here. We moved in early June. So like I've never played football straight this long in my life. Like we're at it for over 6 months now. So I feel like I'm used to 3.5 on to the next one. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's been the crazy thing. Like it's no joke. It's taxing. It's a lot for sure. So that's been the craziest thing for me. Like the difference coming from high school, and then of course just the competition in general is much better. But yeah, just the physicality and just the mental strength that you gotta have to just keep going.
Oh yeah.
So what you're saying is that you were playing football and then you moved on to a winter sport in high school?
Yeah. So I did football, basketball, track. So we would probably start earlier August for practice, kind of go through. My junior year, we went to the state finals. So that's about the farthest I've ever. So that's Thanksgiving. So that's a few months. Wait, what's that? Like 3 or 4? No,
Yeah.
3.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then you got like 1 week, and then basketball, like first basketball game. So then we're right into a new sport. You know what I mean? So I just kept going like that, and then of course basketball ends. Track practice starts right after that, and we just kind of go from there. So it's I'm used to kind of jumping around and stuff like that, but just like the physicality of football and doing that for 7 months straight is it's a lot.
So
Well,
was there
yeah.
ever a time during your state championship run for football that you had to do a dual practice, go to football practice at one time during the day and then go to basketball the next, since you jumped right to it?
No, so we would like prioritize what we were in. So like, I mean, you're making a state final run. We were like, obviously, we should probably be focusing on the old football right now. So like, we would just say football, and then like I said, games start like literally a week after like the end. So we would come back and we got like 2, 3, 4 practices, and then we were in playing games, and that's just how it was. So it's cool though.
So how was it different for you? Because I don't know how much Justin told you about me, but I played a little club soccer for a college for a couple of years. How was it different for you keeping a school schedule plus your athletic schedule compared to high school, where pretty much your schedule was set for you?
It's weird. I've always been someone who's like, I have to be on time, and like it scares me to be late. So like I always got alarms on my phone set and things like that. So like that wasn't a huge issue for me. And then being in college, like it's so like open, if that makes sense. Like there isn't, like you said, in high school you got people telling you where you got to be right now, like that kind of thing. And it just really isn't like that in college. You got like 2 classes a day, maybe 3. And you're just kind of moving around, and then we gotta be at practice at this time. You got workouts here now, so it's definitely different. It makes you feel like an adult, and you're just kind of living on your own. So it's weird for sure, but I like it. I enjoy it a lot. I like kind of being able to handle like my own kind of thing, do it by myself. So I've enjoyed it so far. I haven't had any issues, like I said. I'm super scared to be late, so I have not been late to anything.
Well, that's always a plus when you're that type of person. You always want to be on time.
I know.
Put that good foot forward instead of the bad one.
Exactly. I'm like not trying to give off any bad impressions right away. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna be here. I'm ready to do this. Let's go.
So other than that, what's been going on with your everyday life? Might as well say.
Not much. We had our last regular season game was Eastern Michigan, and that was like I almost want to say 3 weeks ago. Now, or like coming up tomorrow or today, 3 weeks ago today.
Wow.
So after that kind of ended, they gave us a little bit of a break, so we haven't been practicing like the last like 2.5 weeks. We just started yesterday, back up. So we just been like lifting every day and kind of doing that sort of thing, which has been nice. And with it being finals week, I just finished my last final yesterday, so it's nice being done with all that. But like it was extremely busy at the time, so it was nice having that. So it's just been a lot of studying, school stuff. Football kind of almost took a backseat for the last few weeks for everybody, just because like we all got to get the grades in. We're student athletes, so
Well,
that
yeah,
part had
if
to
you don't
come
have the
in,
grades,
so.
you don't get to play. So
Very true, and that point was brought up many times. So that's what most of and then like, we've been lifting and kind of doing stuff like that, having meetings, like little like walkthroughs and stuff like that. But we're just starting to kind of pick back up right into practice and stuff right now. So
okay. Well, obviously, a lot of people know that usually we're talking before the show starts off. They usually can't hear it. We were talking a little bit earlier before the show, and you guys got a bowl game this year, which is very exciting for you guys.
for sure.
So, other than practices every day, what have you guys been doing pretty much to prepare yourself for not just the game, but the atmosphere of that type of game?
Our coaches, I mean, when it was announced, we all had a meeting about it, and Coach Mack went over just about everything. And it's just going to be extremely fun. It's putting us, like, all of our athletes in a great position. I kind of mentioned earlier when we were talking before the show, just like how big NIL and like your profile is nowadays in college sports. So it's just going to give everybody a great opportunity to go down there and kind of like meet people and build connections, and just the atmosphere of hanging out with like all the people from Barstool and doing that kind of thing. It's going to be extremely interesting and extremely amazing. just for everybody to get to see that. So I'm super excited. I think a lot of everybody, the teammates and everybody is, and everybody's been studying film. We got everything broken down, so we got a game plan, and I think we're ready to go.
Awesome. Well, I definitely will be looking for that game on TV. If I'm not at work, I'll definitely be watching it. I definitely work a lot, unfortunately.
Oh yeah,
But
I feel that.
yeah, we're all excited for you here at Sports Bros. I'm glad to actually have you come on board with us, but past our week to week, we might as well get back into it. Justin, you pretty much made this week's schedule for us, so I'm going to let you take the reins from here.
Okay, Finn, how often do you play video games with you and your buddies in your dorm room?
You know, I hadn't been playing a ton, but new Fortnite season came out, and I might get some hate for this, but you know, I do still play Fortnite.
Truthfully, who doesn't?
I know. So
there's no hope for that.
New season came out, so I was like, I gotta get back into it big time. So I've been playing with a bunch of my friends and stuff like that. So that's probably much the only game I play. I'm so bad at sports video games, it's unreal. Like Madden, 2K, any of them can't do it. I'm so bad.
And actually, before I let you go on, Justin, I gave you the role guest host, Finn.
Okay.
That should get you into the topics of talk. So if that's the pretty much our guideline that we'll be following the rest of the show. So
got you.
So that way you're able to keep up. That's how we keep up with each other. If we didn't have that, we'd probably be jumping all over the place or even lose our heads through the show. So all right, go ahead, Justin.
All right. Well, for those of us that are listening to this show, Logan and myself and Logan play NHL occasionally. We have complained about EA Sports quite a bit and how they have screwed over certain video games like college football, hockey, and some of the dumb stuff that they've done. But one of the things we didn't know about and was made an announcement early on this year, I think in fact about 2 weeks ago, EA Sports is now going to introduce the women's hockey team in an NHL video game starting in early 2022. They will, on top of NHL 22, they will be making the International Ice Hockey Federation Women's Hockey Championships as well as the World Juniors. So they are making a complete video game for the women's teams and the World Juniors. How big of a hit that's going to be, I don't know. But based on all the women in sports that have voiced their opinions, I will say that I do agree with them that this is a huge move. And it's a huge step for women in sports.
Oh, I totally agree with you on that one. My problem with it, and I think everybody's problem with it, is how popular is that going to be? I mean, it's great that the women are now officially going to be put into an EA Sports game, but is it going to be popular enough for them to keep it?
And that's exactly right, because, I mean, how many, and this is me speaking freely, because how many females do we know that actually play video games, and not even just video games, because obviously they play like the Fortnites, and they play their Demons and I can't think
Dungeons
of it.
And Dragons.
Yeah, that, and a couple other ones that they play that was mentioned to me, but how often do they play sports games? I don't feel like it's very much, but could this be a turnaround?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's. I guess we'll find out because I mean, that's just right around the corner, literally. Yeah, it kind of puts me for a loss for words that EA would pull this move, but I guess we'll see what happens. It just may be something that's just part of the game that will very rarely be used. But anyways, on to the NFL. Let's get into the nitty-gritty stuff.
Yes. Finally, the worst head coach in the history of NFL is done with the league. After multiple allegations and fights between his coaches, his players, and with the ownership, Urban Meyer has been released from the Jacksonville Jaguars.
So with those allegations, I mean, I read through a few articles that when the breaking news hit, my phone blew up like immediately. If those allegations are true, he pretty much blacklisted himself from any NFL team ever wanting him.
Or even college, for that matter.
Well,
why would anyone want another coach around their program? You can't build a culture around his lifestyle.
So, Finn, I don't know if you actually heard one of the allegations or not about him kicking his field goal kicker or not.
I had not heard that.
Yeah, I just read the other day that when Jacksonville just released on one of the allegations was his former field goal kicker, as they put it, had claimed that he had walked up to them and told him, don't miss any field goals this fucking Sunday, and kicked him in his kicking leg. And his response to Urban Meyers was, don't fucking kick me in the leg ever again.
Yikes.
And Meyers' response to that was even better, because he said, I am the head football coach, I'll do whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah.
So
you can't say that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on top of kicking your kicker, calling his assistant coaches stupid, lazy, and losers, and getting a lap dance from an Ohio State girl after his loss with the Bengals, which he purposely missed the flight back home for, he did not regain the trust of ownership like he had said that, or like ownership said they wanted, and they just had enough.
I mean, I think he got enough chances, more chances than I would have given him. Shit, after disrespecting your assistant coaches and then the lap dance, I would have fired him sooner.
I would have done it right after the lap dance, because A, you miss a team flight to come back to go spend time at a bar. Granted, it's your own bar anyway, but you just had an embarrassing loss to the Cincinnati Bengals. You should be at home on the flight watching film for next week's game.
And I find it even funnier that lap dance came from a college girl from the college he used to coach for.
Yeah.
So,
so many things happen with him that I think his reputation is completely destroyed, and he's almost a registered sex offender, so to speak, in the world of coaching.
Yeah. So, with him gone, who do you think's going to take his place?
Well, the interim head coach is former Lions interim head coach, Darrell Bevell, and maybe would he get the chance to be the next head coach? That's up for debate. I mean, it would be a bad choice. He's been with the worst team in the league for a couple of years, and now he's with Jacksonville, who is, I think, with the second worst team in the league right now. So, I mean, but you have the best quarterback that came out of last year's draft in Trevor Lawrence, and now that Urban's gone, you finally get a chance to see what Trevor's like, and you can develop him the way he's meant to be developed instead of going off of what Urban wanted to do. Urban didn't get a chance. He was not transitioned to the NFL. He wanted it to be just like it was in college.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, you're not dealing with college kids anymore. Yeah, some of them are still at that age where they're young enough to be college kids because they were juniors and they declared for the draft, or they're a senior that just got entered, so they're 23, 24, 25, whatever the case may be. But a lot of times, your team is built on 30-year-olds, grown men that have been around this league for a long time.
Longer than he's been around the league.
Yeah, longer than he's been a coach for college, really, sometime, depending at Ohio State anyway, because he was only there for so many years. But, again, the thing about the professional football league is when you're a head coach, your voice does not matter. It's the players that get to do all the talking, and they decide what goes on because they're the ones that have been around for a long time, and a lot of times the coaches work around their players. They draft who to block for. They draft who their running backs. What would work well with the system that they have in place.
Well, exactly.
And unfortunately, that didn't work because Trevor Lawrence is not built for urban system.
And which is a sad thing because I mean he had a great college coaching career with Ohio State and everything, coming out of a Michigan fan's mouth. He just couldn't cut the bill. He may get a chance back at a very small college, but it ain't gonna be a D1 school at all.
Absolutely not. And again, I kind of agree with you on this. If he gets even the smallest tug of a job offer for a college football team, it's going to be one of those that if you are on a very tight leash as it is just for getting offered the job. So anything at all that puts that college's name or reputation in jeopardy, more than likely you're going to be gone before you even wake up the next morning, just like he was in Jacksonville.
Well, exactly.
They announced it at 12:30 in the morning or 1 o'clock in the morning. So
it was like 5 minutes after midnight because I was on my night shift at work and my phone started freaking out.
So yeah, good luck to him. Your life is screwed for a while.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm not looking at the schedule right now.
T.J. Hawkinson is out for the season for the Detroit Lions.
Now, see, that's something I didn't even get notified on. What's going on with him? Because I honestly didn't even hear about that until I seen it on our schedule to talk about.
I believe it is a foot injury, and he had to have surgery, which basically sums it up. If you have any kind of surgery on your foot, it's going to take a while to rehab. I don't know all the exact details. I think it was a toe injury, but I'm not. Don't quote me on that.
Let me see here. No, it 1 day ago. Hand injury.
Okay.
Had surgery on his thumb.
Thumbs are a pain in the butt.
Yeah. I couldn't even imagine not being able to use my thumb.
Oh God, no. It's funny because you use your thumb for basically every movement that you have in your hand, but you don't realize it until you're unable to use it, and then you get frustrated.
That's what makes us different from like animals, because we have the thumb, and that allows us to like grab a hold of things and like do stuff like that. So you take that away, and you got kind of a tough situation.
Yeah. And with him being out the rest of the season, there's a hole that needs to be filled, other than the other holes that need to be filled in that team.
Which brings me to the next topic. What do the Lions need out of this upcoming draft?
All right, this is my opinion and you guys might not like this. I'm a Packer fan. All right.
I'm gonna tell you right now.
You are not gonna get hate from this show because Logan is about to tell you why.
All right, let me hear it.
I own shares to the Green Bay Packers, so I'm technically an owner of that team,
and
along with my wife.
What else?
What else? What do you mean, what else?
Who did you marry?
Oh, my wife is a big Green Bay Packers fan too, so.
All right. Well, as a Packer fan, in my eyes, if you got to score to win games. Defense, obviously important, but if you don't score any points, it don't matter how good your defense is because you can't win. So, for me, obviously, Jared Goff not having a great year, but they just don't have any offensive threats other than, there's a couple. You got Swift, obviously, and then I can't think of the tight end's name right now.
Hawkinson?
That's Hawkinson.
Yep.
Who's
Hawkinson.
out.
Who's obviously, who's out right now. Who's great. Perfect. Yeah, I have him on my fantasy team. But you have no threats to like throw to, and so obviously people go rip on Jared Goff and everything like that. And yes, he's not playing good, but for me as a receiver, there's nobody like he's got nobody to throw it to. He's got nobody to go to. They don't have a guy who can go make a difference for him right now, or multiple guys, so that you can't just like go sit 2-3 dudes on that one and just watch him. You gotta have multiple people that can score the ball, and the Lions just don't have that right now.
Well, and I totally agree with you on that. I mean, they're relying on what? A running back and a tight end, and look what happens now. They have to fill the tight end position because he's out for the rest of the season due to an injury. And you can't just rely on your running game because they're going to exploit your running game very quick if that's all you're doing all day long.
And I get like the O-line is important, and they got a great O-lineman who's been playing really good. I forget his name from Oregon. Yeah, he's playing great as a rookie, but you got the line now. You just need people to get the ball to, and that's what they're missing right now. They don't have someone that they can be like, shoot, it's 3rd and 5. Who's getting the ball? This guy is.
So here's my question for you. Let's say Detroit gets that first round number 1 draft pick at the end of the season.
Who do you go for?
Yeah, who do you pick?
Would you go offense or defense? Because there's a lot of talk right now about the Lions having the first pick in the draft and potentially Aiden Hutchinson being the first round pick.
No, and that's a great example because Aiden Hutchinson's really freaking good. In that situation, I'm trying to think, what's like the top offensive like pick right now? Because the quarterbacks really aren't that great in the draft.
No,
and I'm trying to think about like who would be like the top offensive.
That would.
I'd have to look it up.
I'm doing that right now myself because that's a great question. Would you rather go for an offensive guy or would you want a better guy on defense to try and help your offense become successful?
And that's something too to think about. I don't know if this draft is necessarily the strongest offensive draft that we've seen in the last few years. So if it's, I mean, obviously, like I said, I feel like it's a priority to get some offensive threats that can, go make a difference in the game. But if this isn't the group to do that, and you have an opportunity to get the best defensive player of the country, well then, to me, I feel like obviously get Aiden Hutchinson. But in maybe a different year, next year, something like that, or if there is a guy that they feel is a big standout and they think they can help him out, then all right, go get him. But I just think that they'll continue to lose and they won't get any better until they get that offense rolling and get those like playmakers.
5, Evan Neal from Alabama, offensive tackle.
Yeah, and like I said, I just feel like they got an offensive lineman last year. I just really don't think that's a priority right now.
Agreed.
The only skill player that's in the top 10 is Chris Olave, a wide receiver from Ohio State. Everybody else
he really didn't even have his like greatest year. I feel like he personally played better last year.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's something and honestly, the Lions defense really isn't that bad. There have been so many close games or like low scoring games. Like what was like the Browns was like 14-10. Like they're all like close games. So if you can just get somebody like score, then dang, you're gonna be just fine. But until that happens, I just don't see the Lions ever turning it around.
This upcoming mock draft has 4 or 5 out of the top 20 that's only offense. This is a defensive draft so far for the mock draft.
So then you got to think, like, maybe this isn't the draft to go for the offense, and maybe we do get Aiden Hutchinson, and we just kind of buff that defense up and wait another year. Because it'd be hard to pass that up.
It's funny because I'm looking through the top rank for this NFL draft on sportingnews.com. And I've gone through the top 20, and I've yet to see the running back from Michigan State show up on that list.
Hey, all I got to say about that is Lou Nichols, CMU's running back, is better than Kenneth Walker. So
I just find it funny because he
got the leading rusher in the country.
He announced his draftability, I think, last week and has decided to not even participate in his bowl game, and he's not even in the top 20 for the draft.
And
I
I
mean,
can I agree with Finn here. I've been to 3 CMU games and I've watched Lou Nichols play, and all I'm gonna say is the game against Western Michigan at Western, that was a standout game for him. But in all seriousness though, what game hasn't stood out for Lou
that,
Nichols from
the
CMU?
man is me. I've known the guy for about 7 months now. Super quiet kid, but he is so good. I mean, he had offers from Ohio State, Georgia, all those schools, but he decided to come to Central so he could play right away. And that just shows you that, like, because people bring up the point, oh, he's not playing against the SEC Big Ten teams. I'm like, dude, he had those offers, but he's trying to just get into college and get out of college as quickly as possible so he can get
Right.
to the league. So
And
for
the
me,
thing is,
I'm like, yeah,
yeah, with a lot of that too is, and we bring it up during our recruiting sessions, is a lot of those big time schools won't even look at you for the first year or two. They
Yeah,
will
and
redshirt you right off the bat and bench you. And
that's exactly what it is. Because, like, you got to think, Georgia, how many good running backs do you think are going to Georgia? A lot. CMU, if you're a 4-star recruit going to CMU, damn, guess what? You're going to see the field right away. And that's just how it is. And that's how he visualized it. He was like, I'm going to go play 3 years, and I'm going to get out, and I'm going to get in the league.
Well, and that's just it. Is if you got to build your stats and you got to build your profile to capture like scouts of the NFL to
Exactly.
have a chance to get into the league. So
Mm-hmm.
if the best way of doing that is going to like a school like CMU, so you hit the field right away and be able to build that profile up, that's what you got to do.
Yeah.
and I'm gonna make another point right here. You want a guy on special teams in the NFL? How are you not gonna look at Khalil Pimpleton?
Hey, KP is like the coolest guy ever, and that man is so good. If he was 5'10", if he was just 5'10", that man is definitely not here at CMU right now. That man is like somewhere else, SEC, Big Ten. But the only thing to me that anybody could hit that kid for is his size, and obviously he's not the biggest guy, but he is so good, so fast, and just football smart that I feel like he's definitely going to get an opportunity. There's no way that a team just doesn't do that. And to me, I feel like he's just going to go prove himself, and he's going to be just fine.
Absolutely, and that's one of the things where I criticize recruiting so hard because you got coaches look at stats and grades, but the problem is they look at the size of a guy also.
Mm-hmm.
And granted, I get it. Certain sizes are better fit for certain positions.
Yeah.
But you are gonna miss out. And I'm saying, as Khalil Pimpleton is a senior in high school, who I'm sure was overlooked 100% by, like you said, Georgia, Alabama, the SEC teams.
He did.
Everybody overlooked him because of his size.
Yeah, I agree. He went to Virginia Tech his freshman year, and they told him straight up, like, you're not going to play here. Like, it's just not going to happen. And so he was like, all right, bet, I'm out. And then he transferred here for his redshirt freshman year, and he's been here ever since.
And like you said earlier, a chill guy, one of the coolest guys you've ever get to know. But he's so calm and so chill that he will be one of those people that will, no matter how focused he is on a game, he'll stop and, like, for example, running out of a tunnel. If he's at a professional football game and he's gonna run out of the tunnel and focused on a game, he sees some little kid with a sign or whatever, he's not gonna ignore it. He'll come over, he'll say hi to that little kid, he'll sign an autograph, he'll take a picture with him, and then he'll go back to what he was doing. He's one of those people that's a personable person.
I cannot agree more with that statement. Being a freshman, so I'm from Northern Michigan. I was good there, obviously, whatever. But you come to like a Division I school and everything, it's a totally different ball game. And so of course I'm nervous as hell coming in here. And I remember like the first week, like the first OTAs, like a kind of a walkthrough player run practice when like the coaches aren't allowed to be there. That's what we call it, like an OTA. So like the GAs will run it. So it's like the first OTA, and I remember they threw a ball up in the corner of the end zone, and we didn't know the playbook yet. So like they're just kind of like, hey, this is the route you have on this play. And we're like, all right, whatever. So like we just kind of they threw one up in the end zone. I went up and like mossed 2 people, and everybody was going crazy and stuff like that. And literally the next day, like he would come up to me and he would be like, you. I want you on the field with me. And I remember me, him, and Ja'Cory Sullivan sat in the middle of the indoor after the next OTA for like an hour just talking, and they were just like saying how like I can do it and like there's no reason to be nervous, like you are just as good as everybody else here, and just things like that. And they've literally been right behind, like had my back the entire time. I ever need a question, I just call him, text him, whatever. He responds right away, helps me out. Those guys always ask to like hang out, do things like that. So just like him, Ja'Cory, all those guys. I think coming in, I was so nervous about it, like, you know, playing against those older guys, but they're like the coolest dudes I've ever met in my life. And I'm like incredibly fortunate to have had them as like the guys that were above me and kind of showed me the way, because it's just opened up my eyes and it's definitely prepared me for what's coming in the future.
Well, exactly. All right, Justin, we're on to pretty much your baby of the night, NHL.
I'm going to get started with this big one because this is something that has been on a couple radars of mine, not only for this, but for another edition as well. The Arizona Coyotes 2 weeks ago could have possibly been evicted from Gila River Arena
I
because
heard this.
they paid delinquent tax bills.
Jeez.
That's wild.
They racked up over a $1.3 million bill that had to be paid by December 20th. Otherwise, they would not be able to play in that arena.
Sounds like somebody needs to be firing somebody because they ain't paying their bills.
Now, before they paid that bill, which they did pay the bill, the commissioner, Gary Bettman, was in Quebec, over in Canada. And this ties in with Arizona because there has been talks about an NHL team returning back to Quebec to be the Nordiques. Now the Nordiques were a hockey team from 1972 to 1979, but they were part of the WHA.
Okay.
Once the merger happened between the WHA and the NHL, that's when they were part of the NHL from 1979 to 1995. Now, unfortunately, they folded, and they are now what is known as the Colorado Avalanche. So they moved to Denver and became the Avalanche.
Gross.
That also was a time where it was the Winnipeg Jets up in Canada. But they folded, and then they, I think, took that team away for a little bit. But when the Atlanta Thrashers, many years ago, most people won't remember this, but I sure do. When they folded, they went to Winnipeg, and they rebuilt the Jets organization from the ground up. So with talks being back in Quebec, if Arizona didn't want to stay in Phoenix and continue to be the Coyotes, they would have the option, if it would be approved by the Canadian and Quebec governments, to move to Quebec and become the Nordiques again. Now, if they want to do that, they still have that option, and it's still underneath government talks. But how long does Arizona keep that hockey team?
Well,
Because they rack up that big of a bill. I don't see you being very trustworthy to be inside an arena like that for very long.
well, and that's just it. I'm still speechless over how big that bill was, and whoever wasn't sending the checks when they were supposed to be sent should be fired immediately.
I'm gonna read a couple of quotes. Coming from a person in the Coyotes organization, said, "We have already launched an investigation to determine how this could have happened, and the initial indications are that it appears to be the result of an unfortunate human error." Regardless, we deeply regret this inconvenience that has occurred. We will make sure by tomorrow morning the Arizona Coyotes are current on all of our bills and owe no state or local taxes whatsoever, and we will make immediate steps to ensure nothing like this can ever possibly happen again. Now, the city of Glendale is owned approximately 250,000 no, is owed 250,000 in unpaid taxes per the letter from city manager Kevin Phelps to the Arizona CEO. So that is only a small portion of the 1.3 million that they had to pay out. So they, on top of paying the arena bill, they had to pay the 250,000 just in the city taxes.
Jesus. Yeah, I think it's time for Arizona to kick them to the curb. I mean, honestly, if they're owed that much money to the state and to the city, they obviously don't know how to money manage very well.
Yeah, you got to find someone else to take care of your finances for you, because that person who made that error probably is no longer at Arizona, if I'm going to take a guess correctly, because if you screw up that bad to have that big of a bill, people are going to ask questions why that happened. And all you, and I mean, this is me speculating. You can say, well, I thought I paid that bill, or I thought this happened. Well, unfortunately, thinking is one thing. Actually doing it and make sure you have a record of it is another.
Yeah, I think you missed a lot of bills.
I was gonna say it wasn't just one bill he missed; it
Yeah.
was several.
And how do you miss several bills every month that bad? Because I mean, even when you own a house, you have Logan. You can speak for this. Every month, you have a water bill, you have a heat bill, you have a rent, you have any kind of bill every month.
Damn mortgage.
Yeah. And if you don't pay it after a week or two, what happens? You get another notice, right? You get a notice. Hey, you forgot to pay this bill.
To the point
So
that they just kick you out.
exactly. So how that happened, I would actually love to know exactly what happened instead of just human error.
Well, I'd like to hear the excuse from the person that the human error was caused by.
Wouldn't we all? Going to Beijing will be a player's decision because of COVID. Commissioner Gary Bettman says there was a lot of speculation about if we would send players to the Olympics because of COVID. And in simplest terms, he has said that we have our concerns. We have expressed those to the Players Association. We see that the number of players are now also expressing concerns, and we'll have to see how this all plays out, he said on Friday during a Board of Governors meeting. So I think it's a smart decision by Gary Bettman releasing this statement instead of saying, yes, we will go play or no, we won't. He is leaving it up to the players and their discretions. And that, I think, is one of the smartest things he's ever done within the last 10 years, is make that statement. Because Gary Bettman is not very high praised.
Well, no. And I see, before I even open that Ben Bishop is possibly retiring.
Yes. Ben Bishop has been recovering from an injury that he suffered last year. It was a knee injury that he was attempting to rehab, including a couple of starts in the American Hockey League. But unfortunately, based on how he felt and how his body felt to him, he decided to make the tough decision to hang up his skates.
Well, and on that note, I was briefly going over an article that I was reading while you were talking, and technically he's not retiring until after next season because he's still technically under contract, and he can't retire until his contract is up with the team.
That's correct. His contract it is a $4.9167 million cap hit, which is a $3.5 million total salary each season, and it does not end until after the 2023 season. So more than likely, he'll be. Maybe he might skate a little bit, or he might find another role to do with the team until his contract is up, until officially announcing his retirement. But I really don't think that he will stop working of any kind and just sit around.
Right.
I'm sure he will be helping the goalies and be an assistant goalie coach for his team.
So, with that being said, and Finn, I'm guessing you're what, 18, 19 years old?
I turned 18 a couple months ago.
Okay, so with that in mind, you heard how much his contract is worth, right?
Yes.
Take a guess how old he is.
We're talking about the one that's retiring, correct?
Yeah.
Correct. How old is Ben Bishop?
31.
He's 35 years old, and he's making that kind of dough.
Yeah, that's wild. Dame Lillard he's signed like a new deal for like 2 years, $110 million.
Yeah. And
like what? What?
The last podcast me and Justin did last week, I don't know if you tuned in and listened to it, but did you read how much just John Harbaugh would be making just in the postseason if they go all the way and win it all?
Harbaugh?
Jim?
Yeah.
Jim, yeah.
No.
$3.17 million just in bonuses.
That's so man. Being like that is so much money.
Yeah, for a college.
That's something.
Too.
When you come to like college, that's something you realize like how much like obviously like growing up and things like that. But your parents help you with so much or whatever. You get to college and you're like, oh, I gotta like go buy something because like I need this, and you're like that is so much money.
Yeah.
And
oh my god,
Athletic isn't even paying that. It's all from the donors.
Yeah.
So like think about that. You're at any university you have those specific donors that already make hundreds and thousands of dollars, but they're giving that up to you because you're now coaching at that university. That's such a huge praise of a university that they're going to give you this much money in a bonus because you won Part A. You won against Ohio State finally. B. You finally got the Big Ten championship. C. Yeah. You won the Big Ten championship. And now D. You're in the college football playoff.
My dad's like best friend in high school is like a really big donor for Michigan. So like he's out every game. He gets to like go out on the field and stuff.
So he's like one of those people that's paying the extra money.
Yeah, that's
it. Did you hear this? Jim Harbaugh will not be seeing a single penny of those extra donations that he.
Oh yeah, because he said he's donating it all, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah,
that's I love that.
That's awesome. Staff that all took pay cuts during COVID, he's paying them what they got in their pay cuts.
Hell yeah, I love that. I think that's super cool, especially for a guy like that who, let's be honest, he doesn't need the money, and he's kind of like one of those guys that's just, yeah, I think that's a great thing.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely pure class.
I love it.
So, even though we got off topic there, but it is what it is. 3-on-3 OT stall? What's that all about, Justin?
Dale. People are asking if the 3-on-3 overtime is now boring. Games decided in an OT or shootout is not exactly the statistics that they were looking for long term. Through 431 games this season alone, 94 games have gone past regulation, and 60.6% of those games have ended in a 3-on-3 overtime. So 57 games out of 94 have ended in the 3-on-3 overtime. That is a significant drop from the previous 6 seasons. Back in 2021, instead of 60%, it was raised to 66%. In 2019 and 2020, it was 65.6. Back in 18-19, it was 67. So considering it dropping 6 whole percents is starting to lose the interest of fans when it was a brilliant idea when it was brought up, but now people are starting to get annoyed with it and they're getting bored because it's great offense. It's 3-on-3. As soon as the goalie makes a save, he passes it out. In all reality, you have one defender that's trying to catch up when it's really a 3-on-2 already and you're trying to score. But it's great action because the goalies are better, the shooters are better, and it's basically a shootout contest with 3-on-3 to see who can be the better person. And I'm sorry to hear that some of the fans aren't thrilled with it, but I do understand it because people are going to be the people out there that are going to complain. But when you watch a hockey game, there's really 3 things that you're there to see. 1 is a goal, obviously. 2 is a huge and magnificent save by the goalie from your team that you're cheering for. And the 3rd one is a fight.
I was gonna say, if you don't say fight on that 3rd one, I'm coming down to frickin' Alma and fighting you.
But it amazes me. It's like, how can you not be appreciative of a magnificent save that you are witnessing in person? It's mind-blowing to me how people don't like 3-on-3 overtime now.
I look at it as this, and a lot of people probably disagree with me. A lot of people go to hockey games in person, just like a lot of people go to NASCAR in person. They want to see that fight or they want to see that massive crash.
Well, it's kind of sad now because hockey games don't have as many fights as they used to back in the 90s and the early 2000s.
Yeah. Like, I when I went to college, me and like 5 of my friends from college drove down to Grand Rapids to watch the Grand Rapids Griffins. Not to watch them, but we were hoping to at least see a fight.
Yeah. So with this 3-on-3 overtime, I'm going to read you a statement or read a couple things and then ask you some questions, but I'll ask a question first. Logan, you remember the name Sergei Fedorov, correct?
Yes, I do.
Finn, have you ever heard of that name?
I have not.
He was a Red Wings player back in the 90s that helped them win back-to-back Stanley Cups, 96 and 97 to 97-98. He is now the head coach over in Russia for the CSKA CSKA. Over the last 2 weeks in back-to-back games. The first one against Dynamo Moscow was 2-2 in overtime. With 4 minutes remaining, Sergei Fedorov pulled his goalie in 3-on-3 overtime and got the game-winning goal. His team got the game-winning goal with the extra skater. Now, they were not on a power play. This was not a 4-on-3 power play in overtime like you would see. This was I'm gonna show my balls and I'm gonna pull the goalie and I'm gonna see if we can win it. If not, we lose with an embarrassing empty net goal. And he ended up pulling it off and it was brilliant. A couple days later, they played. Who was it? They played another game against. It doesn't give me the name, but it was 0-0, and he decided to try it again. In 0-0, 3-on-3 overtime, he decides, okay, I'm going to try this again because it worked last time, and I'm going to pull the goalie. This time, it was with 2.5 minutes remaining in overtime instead of almost all 5. And his team had possession in the offensive zone for a whole minute and a half, passing this puck around, trying to find the open shot. And finally, the goalie gave in and was like, I've had enough of this. I'm tired, and I'm just going to let in the game-winning goal. So, back-to-back games, Sergei Fedorov pulls his goalie in 3-on-3 overtime to win the game. I would love to see NHL coaches follow him and do that in the regular season.
Start pulling goalies.
Start pulling the goalie in 3-on-3 overtime and have it be a 4-on-3 power play, so to speak. Have the empty net at the other end. Like, hey, I've got the balls to do this. Let's see what you got against it.
Yeah, that would be interesting to see happen in the NHL. Unfortunately, I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Now, his exact quote for doing so, he was asked why he did it on back-to-back days. His quote, I am not a fan of shootouts. That's all he said. And, I mean, yeah, sometimes shootouts are great because you get those spectacular moves, but at the same time, they can get pretty boring, and it goes extensively. Oh, yeah. You instead of ending it in 3 rounds, you get to round 7, 8, 9, 10 sometimes, and there's been a couple games where I've watched where you got to go all the way down the roster and go back again.
Oh yeah,
because nobody can score, or yeah. But I was watching one of those games live in my office the other day, because when it's 7, 8, 9 o'clock there, it's noon or 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So I was able to watch it live, and even the announcers for those games were like the same thing that I just said. There's no power play. What's he doing? He's pulling the goalie on 3-on-3? That's crazy. But a minute and a half later, they win. Oh, brilliant move by Sergei.
Yeah.
It
to the highlight of the evening, because it's that time of the year. Bowl games are coming up. NCAA. And who's at the top of the list? Coach of the year. Who gets it? Jim Harbaugh. Which I do believe, and I think all 3 of us would agree on this, he is well deserving of that honors.
Yes. I like
after
that.
The season that after the COVID season they had, and the year before that, he proved this year, and his team backed him up and was like, this is an outstanding performance by this Michigan team this year. They believed in each other. They trusted each other. I'm going to do my job. I'm going to trust that my teammate will do his, and we're going to win football games. And that's exactly what happened this year.
Oh, yeah.
I think...
Go ahead.
I think for me, the biggest thing now is going to see like how he does next year, because it's great. You had 1 year. But when you think about like the Ohio State and the Michigan rivalry, Ohio State's just been killing us. So, like, is this something that we're going to see? Is this going to continue? Are we going to continue to dominate, or are we going to kind of fall off? I'd love to see him go beat Georgia. In my personal opinion, nobody's beating Alabama. But I'd love to see him go beat Georgia and go to the finals. But I think it'll be really interesting to see, like, how he does next year. Can we keep this rolling? See J.J. McCarthy in there balling up, maybe get the passing going. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen next year.
Oh, yeah, I definitely agree with that.
That's another. You brought up a good point, Finn. J.J. McCarthy, are they going to stick with one quarterback, or are they going to do what they did this year and switch between J.J. McCarthy and Christian McCaffrey on certain plays that they want to do for each week?
To me, in my personal opinion, I don't know why J.J. McCarthy didn't start this year. That kid is beyond good. I just don't understand why he didn't start this year. To me, I feel like he should be the start, like clear, like just the solo starter next year. That kid's so good. he's going to open up. So you still have the running game. Like, that's obviously not going to go away, but he's going to open up the passing game and just create so many more opportunities for explosive plays. Whereas it just doesn't really come like that right now. It's more just the running game, and we'll get a pass here and there. They did pass the ball well against Ohio State, but it wasn't like crazy, you know what I mean? So for me, I think J.J. McCarthy should start next year, and then I think that's just going to bring the whole thing to a new level.
Right, and I think that's where it gets in. That's where he could get himself into trouble. It's like, yeah, Michigan ran the ball really well this year.
Yeah.
The problem is, you have that now on film, and colleges that you are going to go up against are going to defend against the run. So what happens when you defend the run? The pass game opens up. So now we got to open the pass game. Be versatile. Be a two-way team where you can throw the ball effectively and run the ball effectively, and then have those leaders on defense that can play defense and give you a shutout.
And I feel like he's proven. I mean, he comes in the game, one play, touchdown. Oh, he pulls him out. For me, I feel like he's proven himself already for like even having like whatever the most limited reps ever. So to me, there's no reason why he shouldn't take the starting job. I thought he should have started this year, but I think it's good. I think it's a good idea to kind of have him work in and out there. It's going to give him some experience and help him get comfortable with the game, college, and just the speed. But to me, I feel like there's absolutely zero reason why he should not be the starting quarterback next year.
And I think he will be the starting quarterback next year. I think the reason this year he wasn't was he was supposed to be redshirted, and by the Northwest Michigan game, they had burned through his games for redshirting. So
yeah. I don't think the redshirt's necessarily a big issue because I think, like I said, if he needs to, he can just start 3 years and then go to the league. But
right.
To be honest, I don't even know if he's going to need that. If he has a great year next year and then plays really well his junior year, you could be out of there.
Well, I know I had heard from several people that Michigan's camp was actually having trouble with red shirts coming up on their game limit and how they were going to fill those holes too this season.
It's definitely that's something I've noticed as well because like we had a lot of freshmen going right away. Like and as soon as you hit that 4-game cap, it's just like doom, gets cut off. Everybody gets cut off, and it's just kind of funny because all of a sudden you see like, all these new guys in different spots and stuff like that. So it's definitely weird, and you definitely got to be like looking out for it.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to the Heisman voting for the NCAA. I'm honestly not surprised to see an SEC player taking the Heisman Trophy home this year.
I think it's well-deserved.
Well-deserved. I will say back-to-back is very impressive for Alabama. But with Bryce Young's stats and the total points votes that he received, absolutely very well-deserving. And it wasn't close between him and Aiden Hutchinson, who did finish second in the Heisman voting, but it was about a 1,500 point difference between the two votes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I will say I was hoping for Aiden to get it, but Bryce definitely deserved that honors, and I mean back-to-back for Alabama to pull that off. Alabama's pretty much the Ohio State of SEC over there.
They're different. Like I'm telling you right now, like I'd love to see Michigan win. They're not beating Alabama. They can beat Georgia. You're not beating Alabama. No, it's just not happening.
I would probably, if I had the vacation time, take a week off if Michigan walked into the finals and actually beat Alabama.
Oh my God, I'd be astonished.
One of the things that I did like to see on the Heisman voting was the rankings, and I purposely looked them up to see it myself. C.J. Stroud, take a guess as to what place he finished.
Last.
Out of the 4 people that were in New York, he finished 4th. And I'll read you the total points. Obviously, Bryce Young won it with 2,311 points, total points. Aiden Hutchinson came in second with 954. Kenny Pickett from Pittsburgh finished with 631 points. C.J. Stroud, 399.
That's interesting to me. Because I feel like for me personally, like obviously I don't like Ohio State. Who likes Ohio State? Nobody. But I gotta give it to the kid. His performance against Michigan State and just some other games like that. I feel like I would have had him beating out the Pittsburgh guy. Personally,
Yeah, I agree with you there because I mean you don't hear about Kenny Pickett in Pittsburgh. You don't hear about the Pittsburgh. You hear about those big name D1 schools that everybody talks about. You hear about Ohio State, you hear about Alabama, you hear about Michigan. You've heard about Desmond Ridder from Cincinnati, and you've heard about Kenneth Walker III from Michigan State. When was the last time you heard Pittsburgh?
Yeah, that's a great point.
Well, maybe that's a sign that they're turning it around over there at Pittsburgh. We'll be hearing them more often.
It wouldn't be a bad thing.
Mix it up.
Cincinnati already put in a point to the CFP committee that says we deserve it. So and the fact that they did it before UCF, I think, is a kick in the crotch to UCF because they could have been more deserving a couple years ago, but they were just like, nah, we don't want to see them get embarrassed.
Game prediction: Cincinnati is losing by 40 to Alabama. And that I totally love Cincinnati. I love that they're in there, but they're just Alabama's gonna just kill them.
Yeah.
Right, and I don't think
and I feel and then that of course is gonna bring up the whole like they never should have been in there in the first place, blah 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 and stuff like that. But
here's my
I feel like it's great that they gave it to him, and now that you can like see how it goes and stuff like that. But yeah,
here's my argument for the CFP committee. I know that Georgia and Alabama played for the SEC championship. Obviously, you wouldn't want a rematch, but if you're going to look for two great games that people are going to watch, it would be another Georgia-Alabama matchup, and then see how Cincinnati does against Michigan. Those two matchups, I think, would have been the best option to see who's going to be in the championship. Because, like you said, Cincinnati, they probably will get murdered by Alabama. And Michigan, Georgia is probably going to be a really good game. But it's like, do you really want to see that? Because you did the same thing with UCF a couple years ago. You kept them out because you didn't want them to see them get embarrassed.
And that might be why the Alabama-Cincinnati game is also at 2:30 that day instead of 7:30 at night, too. Because nobody's going to be watching at 2:30. Everybody will be watching at 7:30.
Oh, easily.
So...
Finn, did you happen to see Kenny Pickett's fake slide?
I did see it. I liked it.
I did too.
Breaking out the moves.
Apparently,
now the rule
doesn't like it though.
Now I do understand that because like it's kind. I think it's sweet because he brought it out and like nobody's like ever done that. So like I thought it was cool in that aspect, but to make banning it does make sense because like it totally leaves the defenders in a really bad situation because then they're going to start hitting the quarterback. Quarterback's actually going to slide. Penalties for targeting, different things like that, and then it's just going to be a mess and confusion. And what was this the right call? Should we have called this? Blah blah. So I think it's a good idea. They'll probably not do it, but I love it that he broke it out and we got a touchdown out of it. So I'm cool with it.
Oh, I absolutely, and I agree with you there. And that was going to be one of the points that I brought up is like when you see a quarterback that's starting to slow down and in his move to start sliding, when you're a defender and you see that, your first reaction is to let up because you don't want to lead and get a targeting call. So you start letting up so you can maybe just like 2-touch tap him on the ground just to say that he was down.
I just laugh because all he does is drag one of his feet to do it too.
It wasn't even a fake. I mean, yes, it is a fake slide.
He like you said, he just kind of dragged the foot and slowed down, and then just exploded out of it. And you were like, oh.
It's almost like a juke in basketball or in a regular football move. It was great.
Yeah, I loved it. I had no issues with it at all.
I just watched the slow mo of it, and it's almost like he lost his footing and then was able to regain it. Like that's what it looks like to me. Like he lost his footing in mid stride and was able to regain his footing and took off.
It would. His quote during the press conference was, "I just kind of started slowing down and pulling up and getting ready to slide, but I just saw their body language and they just pulled up as well. I have never done that before. I just kind of kept going after I initially started to slide." And people are saying, and some people say that they think that the rule book covers every imaginable and impossible scenario, but as we just found out, it does not.
Nope.
And it's funny because you really can't write a rule book with every impossible scenario, because once you think you've done it all, something like this happens and you're like, oh, well, now we got to add that in there. Who would have thought of that?
Well, yeah, exactly. It's like nobody would expect a quarterback to actually fake something that is put in there to protect them from getting hit and then using it against them to score. So, excuse me. On to college football playoffs and the bowl games.
Well, we already discussed the playoff games, so we'll go right into the bowl games. Now, the bowl games that I think are going to be of interest, and this is me personally, Monday, December 27th at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, the Quick Lane Bowl down in Detroit between Western Michigan and Nevada.
Go Nevada.
Is that the game?
What was that, Finn?
I said nothing. I just said go Nevada.
Finn, I could not agree with you more.
That's great.
Not because simply the Central Michigan Western rivalry, but considering I have personal ties down in Nevada myself, and I've already sent a couple of emails congratulating them on the bowl game, and not to mention I might have slipped them a little bit of Western Michigan's film that ironically is from the same game that CMU played down in Western that Wednesday night.
Ooh, I think I remember that one.
That was one of the greatest games I've seen on a Wednesday night, because as a staff, I remember going to Pizza One here, and we had it on the big screen during the coaches show, and a couple of them are Western fans. Some of them are Central fans.
Nice.
And throughout the entire first half, there was a huge cheer sometimes. Other times it was complete silent, and other team cheered, and it was starting to become something that would be recorded and just having fun later on. Once everybody went back to their original houses, it was a matter of text being sent.
Oh, God.
Yeah. That was fun for us CMU fans, because the Bronco fans were just like, yeah, shut up.
Yeah.
I'm like, well,
loser.
You can't really defend the 2 punt returns for touchdowns, which is actually kind of embarrassing if you think about it, because special teams is a huge part of a football game.
That just shows you how good KP is, because those were like the first, like, I think he's had like 5 returnable punts this year.
Yes.
Like, that's it.
And that goes to show you how scared other teams are of him.
Mm-hmm. That's why there's only 5.
Another one I think could be interesting is the Cheez-It Bowl between Clemson and Iowa State. Now, granted, I think that might be a blowout, but who doesn't like Cheez-Its, right?
Love Cheez-Its.
The Valero.
Thank God the Arizona Arizona Bowl game isn't played at Boise State Stadium because that's
Oh,
hard
and
as fuck.
when we were talking about earlier how like when they were announcing the game, he like started it off by like there's the Potato Bowl, and that one's in at Boise.
Idaho. Yep.
So he started off and he said, "Do you want to know like where we are or who we're playing first?" And we were like, "Who we're playing?" And he goes, "We're playing Boise State," and everybody was like, "No, no, 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 no! Like I do not want to go to Idaho." Like that was my initial reaction. I was like, and that one's like right before Christmas too. I was like, no, 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 no. And then he announced in the Arizona Barstool Bowl, and I was like, oh, thank you, because I did not want to go to Idaho.
And I don't think McPike wants to take another trip to the Potato Bowl anyway.
I doubt it.
I think CMU has played in the Potato Bowl 2 of the past 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, it's something like that. I think 2 of the last 6, because we were in like New Mexico the year before, and then we were in Miami. But yeah, I think it's like 2 of the last 6.
Yeah, and I mean, granted, it's great to have the creativity, but a blue field.
And who wants to play Boise at Boise in a bowl game? Like what?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I mean. Like, why would you want to play like at their home? Like, it's just not it.
What do you guys think of the Valero Alamo Bowl between Oregon and Oklahoma?
I think Oregon will win. Oh, I don't even know. That's a tough one.
Like Oregon Ducks, Oregon?
Yes.
Oregon will win that one.
I don't know. They didn't.
I don't
Utah,
know.
Utah took it to them
twice.
In Oklahoma, it's like all of a sudden they'll be like on it, and then it's just not it. I'd probably take Oregon too.
And Justin knows why. I might know why I'm biased to Oregon.
I love Oregon.
One of my friends that I graduated high school with walked onto their basketball team and made starting position. The same year.
That's sick.
The same year that they went, I think, to the Sweet 16 in March Madness. I
love that.
I remember that because I tuned into every game I could just to see him play.
Yeah, yeah, that's sweet.
So I'm kind of biased towards Oregon.
And I gotta say, I hate Oregon for doing this, but I understand why they do, and it's great. But it must be frickin' nice to have the Nike headquarters right around the block. Right on.
Oh my god!
To have all brand new uniforms delivered basically that day, and of anything you want, of any color, have any uniform combination you can think of, and it's just down. It's done for you in a day.
I just love that they have so many fucking colors that they have for uniforms now.
The amount of like gear, and being a like college athlete, and just like every other college athlete, gear is like the coolest thing to us. And the amount of like just awesome stuff that Oregon gets is it's so lucky.
It's so jealous. That's what it is.
Oh my god. That's why I loved them when I growing up. I was like, I want to go there.
It's like jealous of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I follow some of the athletes on there from various sports on a couple social media pages, and a couple of them have done videos of the type of gear they get.
Oh yeah.
And some of the videos are like, okay, when does this end?
Yeah. Oh, it's unreal. It's so freaking sweet.
I mean, I carried playing soccer for gear, and that one carried through from high school to fucking college. So being able to have that kind of supply chain of gear is unreal.
Yeah, who isn't jealous of that? And I mean, I've seen Mike's equipment room, but how cool would it be to step inside Oregon's facilities and see how huge that room is and be like, yeah, I don't want to be anywhere near it. I just want to see it and see how big it is.
Their equipment room's probably around the corner at Nike's headquarters.
And it very well could be. It might not even be on it. It very well could be there because they only use it one set of jerseys a game, and they get a new set every year or every game.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably sitting over there. It's not even on campus.
Wouldn't surprise me at all, honestly. Next up, we got Thursday, December 30th, the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, Pitt versus Michigan State.
Michigan State.
Without Kenneth Walker III.
I want Pitt to win. I'd love to see Pitt win. I think they can. They got one of the top receivers in the country, and then of course
that Heisman QB.
Heisman QB. So I love to see Pitt. I think without Kenneth Walker, I think they got a good shot.
This one just popped up on my screen. Friday, December 30th at 2 p.m. Who plays in that game?
Dang.
I'm asking Finn.
I believe that would be Boise State, Central Michigan.
And I believe you'd be correct in the Barstool Sports Arizona Bowl.
CMU by 100, baby.
Okay, Ryan Day.
You're not being biased or nothing, are you?
No, what?
I do. I would love to see Central Michigan win that football game. Absolutely,
be sweet. We haven't won a bowl game in a minute, so I think it'd be cool. It'd be a tough one, but it'll be fun for sure. We're ready.
PlayStation Fiesta Bowl, Notre Dame and Oklahoma State.
Notre Dame.
Yeah,
I think
Notre Dame.
I agree, and I think they will play a hell of a lot better without Brian Kelly as their head coach.
Well, it looks like December 30th, I'm going to get paid to watch a fucking football game because I think I'm going to be at work for half of that game.
Might as well take a couple hours of overtime to watch the whole thing.
I'll be at home.
That's a good call.
I'll be at home for half of it, so.
Oh, okay. What's that, Finn?
I said that's a good call. Get that overtime.
It is.
As I get now, I'm kind of getting sick of overtime.
Granted, the paycheck's nice, but all the work is probably not.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The Capital One Rose Bowl game. Utah. That was quick.
As much as I don't like them, it's going to be Ohio State.
Yeah. There's no way they're losing again.
They have a chip on their shoulder.
They're going to smack them.
I think they've got more than just one chip on their shoulder. The Michigan game I think is one chip, but I think Oregon's another chip, and
left out of the playoffs is another chip.
Yep, Big Ten championship, that's another chip. But I think one of the two biggest ones are obviously going to be Michigan, and without the college football playoff, I think Oregon is another one, because when you go back and look at the Oregon-Ohio State game, it's very similar to the Michigan-Ohio State game. Michigan did what Oregon did, and they were successful. Mm-hmm. Now, when you look at Oregon versus the Utah games, in both games, Oregon barely showed up for that game. So when you look back at it as an Ohio State football player, you're probably thinking, how did we lose to this team? If they don't look good playing Utah, what did we do wrong that we couldn't win this football game?
And I don't know if you had noticed that a lot of Ohio State players have decommitted from there and have entered the transfer window.
I do remember I think it was their redshirt freshman quarterback that was a 5-star recruit entered the transfer portal the day after Michigan beat him.
Yeah, he's going to Texas.
He'll be better off because he won't have to deal with us.
Yeah.
And I think a few wide receivers went too.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
But I'm also not surprised about the upcoming recruiting class that say Michigan will end after one win and not win again, because they're all And again, it's part of the beauty of this rivalry. Both recruiting classes every year are already in the rivalry before they step on campus.
Yeah, I saw the Ohio State kid that was like, it's never happening again or something like
Oh
that.
yeah, where he said it in his interview.
Yeah,
I laughed at that.
yeah, I thought it was funny.
I did see a recruit who I think committed to Baylor. I want to say it was Baylor, but I very well could be wrong. There were 4 hats sitting on the table, and he picked up the Ohio State hat first, was about to put it on, and then threw it across the room and just threw it on the floor and picked up his actual hat at the school that he was committing to and put it on his head.
I do remember
Love
seeing
it.
that video.
I don't remember if it was Baylor, but it was one thing that I did remember when watching that video the other day.
Yeah.
Finn, do any bowl games that you are aware of interest you outside of the ones that I mentioned that you are aware of?
Nothing too big. I'm excited to watch the Michigan one and kind of get to see how they do against Georgia. I think that'll be a really good game. But there's nothing too big that's sticking out to me other than the playoffs and, of course, the ones that you mentioned.
Yeah.
I missed a couple of them, but this one here this I think is one of the new bowl games that they invented this year for so many for how many teams are bowl eligible. But just listen to this name. The Jimmy Kimmel LA Bowl presented by Stifle.
Just looking at that one, I kind of thought to myself, who the fuck named this?
Who plays in it?
Utah State versus Oregon State.
Interesting.
And I'll give you a guess at who's paying for it.
Jimmy Kimmel.
Ding, ding.
Let's go.
Speaking of the playoffs, what do you think of possibly them going from 4 teams to, what was it? I think 16 or
12.
shit like that? 12?
12.
What do you
Yeah,
think
I
about
like
that?
it. I like it.
I do too.
I do too. More college football, baby.
That's never a negative in that at all.
Nope. I like the
Never a
call.
negative. It's not on the schedule, but I'm gonna. This is on my radar. A rematch of the championship game from 2018. Valdosta State, Ferris State, down in McKinney, Texas.
Oh, yeah.
Heck yeah.
In 2018, Valdosta State won 49-47. This is a rematch from 3 years ago.
Ferris is
Who
going to
wins?
win. Go Bulldogs.
And I think they're undefeated too.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely Bulldogs.
I'd love to see Ferris win it. I think that'd be awesome.
Yep, Ferris is undefeated, 13-0. So I am excited for that game.
That'd be sweet.
I'm not thrilled that it happens at 8:00 at night tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh, that's tomorrow night?
Whereas, yes,
God damn. Well, I
Yeah,
gotta
whereas-
home before that game starts.
Yeah. Back in 2018, it was a day game. I can't imagine why they decided to put it as a night game.
Who knows?
Is it televised? Probably.
It is televised. I
it.
believe it'll be on ESPNU or ESPN2. It's-
I'd have
I
both
believe-
of those.
I am very excited to see that game and see how that ends up because it was a very close game 3 years ago. I mean, total yards, possession, and first downs, all the team stats back in 18 were within a dozen of each other.
Wild.
Damn. Yeah. Well, with that being it, anything else that either of you want to talk about?
I don't have anything pressing.
Justin?
I'm all set.
Alright, with that, folks, thank you for joining us this evening in this podcast. As always, take a break, have a sport, and have a wonderful evening.